Josh, it's great to catch up with you today, and thank you for joining me in this session. And it's great to have you from behind the camera on the chair. Thank you for being a legend. Just wondering if we can just start off today just by giving a brief overview of what is your lived experience of suicide.
My lived experience begins in 2009, where my ideations got out of control and led to, I'd say, active contemplation, but not an attempt. I made it through that. Then in June 2013, which is nearly 10 years ago now, one of my younger brothers, Jacob, then about a month, 6 weeks after that, a friend of mine who I knew from work, I used to work at a pub back in the day, and this guy was a customer and I'd gotten to know him. So this is about 6 or so weeks after my brother. He went as well. And then a month after that, his best mate, who was an even closer friend of mine, followed suit. And all that plus, you know, hearing about it, friends of friends. I got a couple of mates who lost their big brother, someone who lost their partner, and it all, yeah. To me, it's not my lived experience, those ones with people I don't know, but I do feel like it contributes to it every time I hear about it. Yeah.
Definitely, and that's the story of bereavement through suicide, is that it touches a lot of people's lives, and they say it's as individual as a finger, like a thumbprint, and everyone's story is different. And thank you for sharing today. I want to come to masculinity, and masculinity has been spoken about a fair bit in the world of suicide prevention. Just wondering, what's the role that you see masculinity playing in the world of suicide prevention?
I think it depends on how you look at masculinity. I know the term toxic masculinity is thrown around a lot, but there's a reason for that, and that's because it's very, very real. And we all know what it means, I guess, that there is that. It's a stereotype at this point for men to be so staunchly against sharing or showing weakness in any way at all, whether it's concern for themselves or concern for their friends. A lot of men, unfortunately, are raised with kind of a softness beaten out of them in a way by their upbringing, and it's like a form of stoicism that's just gone too far, if that makes sense.
It's stoic. It's a rite of passage, just to be tough and just hold on to things.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, there's parts, I guess, parts of masculinity that you look at men who regard their friends as brothers, and there's that kind of friendship. I find that sort of thing that can be really beneficial to taking care of one another.
Absolutely.
And it's a shame that it gets ignored so much, you know. Yeah, specifically through mental health and well-being lens, you know. Blokes might look out for each other if there's some sort of external trouble, for sure. But we need them to be a little more attentive to, you know, some of the internal struggles that we might be going through.
As someone who has multiple lived experiences of suicide, I'm just wondering, through that lens of the lived experience, how do you view suicide prevention?
to me, it's, and I'm speaking subjectively, it's doing what you can, using what you've learned, something that you should never ever have to learn, of course. And how can you apply that in a way that spares other families and friends the same pain, the same grief that they'll feel for the rest of their lives, that I'm going to feel for the rest of my life? What can I do to make sure that no one else has to do this? They're not dreading the anniversary, which is 2 days before my birthday and 3 days before our mum's birthday. So it's a weird time of year, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone, because every single year, no matter what time it happens, you're always going to be, flashing back to what happened. So I think that taking that and making something useful out of it is absolutely possible. Yeah.
Absolutely. And with that in mind, what's it mean to you to be involved in suicide prevention? Even us having this conversation and sharing, like what would be your hope of what this conversation would mean for someone?
Obviously, I guess going back to what I was talking about, I would hope that it provides a little bit of hope. I hope that watching this and the other interviews that you've conducted encourages people to get involved with suicide prevention. And you don't believe me, you don't need a lived experience to do this at all. But speaking as someone who does, I cannot quantify the reward that I get from even just helping out a little bit. And, I've done this sort of stuff before, talking on camera, doing interviews. I've done plenty of stuff behind the camera, and that's, taking my skill set and my background, and I apply my lived experience to it through a lived experience lens, and I get to work, and it's absolutely possible.
In the world of suicide prevention with a focus on men, what do you feel we can do differently to make suicide prevention more relevant for men?
I think amplify the voices of people with a lived experience, because there's nothing quite like, I guess, factual stories to not frighten people into action, but remind people that this problem is very real, and it can happen to anyone. Nobody's protected from it necessarily. The protection comes, of course, through proactive self-care and excellent support networks, but it can still strike. And to have those voices amplified, I think would let men as a whole know that it can happen, it may indeed happen, but you have a power, there's an element of control where you can get involved with prevention. There are things you can do. It's not a hopeless situation.
Yeah, there's really something that everyone can do, and that's why we sort of do is talk about suicide prevention is everyone's business.
Absolutely.
So as someone who's been involved in filming and a variety of activities around suicide prevention, what's your proudest moment?
This is pretty close. Yeah.
What is it about this?
Oh, look, it was, like I said, it was 10 years ago when my brother died. My God, when I was going through that initial grief period where I forget what happened the first 2 weeks. I assume I slept a lot. It's a blur for the entire family. But to think about that journey from from that point, even the occasions where I wanted to do it myself, and then go, so I'm working for, and now I'm working for a suicide prevention organisation, Everymind, and I've been sent to the Lived Experience Summit in Tasmania to work with Roses in the Ocean, to film, and by accident wind up in the film. That's pretty wild in a good way.
And what an amazing testament to your journey and to your own lived experience of thoughts, and then the loss of your brother, and to be sitting here today doing the best you can to keep men and people safe. It's a real testament. So I really want to honour you today and thank you for your time and thank you for the courage to jump on the scene. Greatly appreciated.
Awesome. Next time.
Thanks,
All the best.
buddy.